This program of lay preachers has been part of our stewardship series for 2012. And the word stewardship means simply to take care of what has been entrusted to us. And in the context of the church, what this means is all that God has entrusted us with: our lives, our health, our families, our friends and neighbors, our vocation, our gifts and talents, our income. Over the years, the word stewardship has gained a capital S status. It has become associated with the time of the year in the institution of the church where we ask its church members for a financial pledge. Now, for many people, this is off-putting, and I know it was for me. I felt like the church was always asking for my money, and that what I gave was never enough. I couldn't understand what my money went to: the pastor's slush fund, financing parties for the in-group at the church. My imagination went wild, and in plenty of cases, this imaginative skepticism has a real basis in reality. There are churches who take advantage, who fill their coffers to the detriment of their people. My skepticism was founded in these stories, but not based in the reality of the churches that I was part of. Now, it wasn't until I was in a leadership position in the church and participated in discussions about the budget that I realized what I give has a direct impact on the day-to-day ministry of the church. That was an eye-opening experience. Beyond the practicality of ministry was a different awareness that washed over me. My refusal to give, my judgment about what was being done with the money, the speculation, and frankly, the bad attitude I had also had an impact. It meant that there was less we could do, less we could offer as a community of faith, tasked with taking the good news of God's love into the world. For maybe the first time in my life, I had a sense of how connected we are, that the $5 I give can make a difference in someone's life, and I'll never know it. How when one person, me, has a bad attitude, it means less is being given to someone else. That was humbling for me and life-changing. Life-changing in that here I am, a priest in the church. And even given all of that, I still have to watch and make sure I keep my attitude in check. Now that I am intimately aware of budgets and numbers and what it takes to run a church, the attitude I have to watch out for is not so much skepticism about where our money goes, but more along the lines of making sure I don't get caught up in a fear when it comes to what I give to the church. I can easily descend into worry about making ends meet, questions about will I have enough at the end of the month, and what if there is an emergency, car repairs that need to be made. Anything can happen. And then I begin to begrudge my giving. This is something that is also harmful, not so much to others, but to my own ability to see the goodness of God alive in the life of our church, in the world that's around me, and in my own life. I have to work hard to keep an attitude of generosity and openness, of faith and trust. And I have to work hard not to let that fear grab a hold of me. In this way, over the years, I have learned that giving is really a spiritual practice. It is a matter of faith. And I suspect that many of you find the same challenges in your life, the same creeping fears about, will I have enough? And what happens if there's an emergency? What about my children? Their inheritance, what I need to leave for family? What if my parents get ill and I can't take care of them? Or the ever-present skepticism that is so prevalent in our culture and frankly is a very PC way of looking at giving to the church. That what the church does with your money is bad, that they are greedy, that they take it and don't care about you. In today's gospel, we have a story that many preachers get excited about, especially during the time of stewardship. Here is the poor widow giving all that she has. Goody! I mean, what a great example of stewardship, right? Not so much. Certainly, Jesus points out that her giving all that she has was a much more valuable gift than the wealthy religious authorities who gave out of their full purses without even feeling the loss of that income. But our gospel, here's where the clue is. Our gospel begins with a warning. Beware of those religious ones who do what they do for show. Now, this is my paraphrase. Who walk around speaking wise words, but whose hearts are empty. So empty, in fact, that the vulnerable and the marginalized become their prey. And that prey in today's gospel is the poor widow. Who might be our prey today? Anybody who is living on a margin economically, a margin with the needs that they are responsible for in their lives. This warning by Jesus is very stern. It's not about wealth or poverty. It's really easy for us to go into thinking about those terms as if it was black and white, and it really isn't. What it's about is attitude. It's about what's going on inside of each of us. Now, immediately after this, Jesus sits down and watches who is putting what into the treasury. Can you imagine having someone watch what you put into the collection plate every Sunday? Never mind Jesus watching. And his warning seems to play out. The widow gives all that she has. For her, there is nothing left. The literal translation of what Jesus says here is that the widow gave the whole of her life. And in Jesus' day, widows were vulnerable. They had no means of income. They were women belonged to the men in their life. So if a woman was a widow, there was no one to whom she belonged, and there was no way for her to earn her own living except by begging or prostitution. It's interesting to note that this is the last bit we hear about Jesus' ministry in the Gospel of Mark. It's pretty much headlong into his arrest and crucifixion after the story of the poor widow. The widow, in her gift of money to an institution that is corrupt, and remember, Jesus calls the temple a den of robbers, is a very near foreshadowing of the gift of Jesus' life, the sacrifice, or, as we have come to learn, the making holy of Jesus' life, even for a people who would not receive him. Today is Veterans Day. We remember and celebrate all of those who have served our country honorably for the sake of our freedom and our safety. Now, there was a time in our history when we did not honor our military. As a nation, we had that same bad attitude that I had. We focused our upset over a war on those who gave of themselves, rather than the powers that be that sent them there in the first place. Now, it seems we have mostly recovered from this, and whether or not we agree with the way that the military is deployed, for the most part, I believe this nation has grown to understand how important it is for us to support those who are giving their lives, the whole of their lives, much like the widow in our gospel, for our own freedom and safety. The same freedom that allows us to voice our dissent, to vote in an election, and to retain the privilege, and I mean a true privilege, of vocalizing our opinions. Reflecting on the convergence of these three elements of giving, the giving of life by each veteran, the giving of life by the poor widow. And our